How do you work a room? As convention season kicks off, are you prepared to network effectively? There are a few tips anyone can benefit from, and here to tell us about them is WSJ's work family columnist, Sue Shellenbarger. Hi, Sue. There's a bit of an art to reading a room filled with people, isn't there?
It's true. Some of us want to retreat to the corner when we see a scrum of strangers, but actually some people can glide through the room and kind of sense by watching nonverbal signals who might be open to a conversation, who might be good to join.
So for those of us who aren't so great at reading a room instantly, much of it comes down to body language, doesn't it? What are some of the cues that people may be open to being approached?
It does. If there's a group of 3 or 4 people standing in a U or V shape or with a space between them where someone can easily enter, that's a positive signal. If people make eye contact and smile, probably open to being introduced, and an open stance without the arms crossed in front of you or your hand clutching a purse or some snacks and a drink, where hands at the side and kind of shoulders open and looking straight out. It's another sign that you might be open to a new conversation.
Very good to know. And what are some signs that perhaps it's best to pass on approaching this particular group at this moment?
Ironically, some of the most fun groups might be a closed circle where people are laughing uproariously and giving each other high fives. They're probably having too much fun to really welcome someone they don't know. And another group might be in a tight circle, talking really intently, listening closely to each other. They may be solving a problem and really wouldn't be open either to a new introduction.
Very interesting. Now, what about taking the temperature of the room in general when we walk into it? Can this help us calibrate our opening lines?
This was fascinating to me. I talked to one man who's clearly an expert networker, and he said he reads the energy level. If it's a very boisterous group with loud voices and jokes and laughing and people moving a great deal, he walks in with a much more assertive stance and might tell a joke, make eye contact immediately. If it's a lower key group, more like Chardonnay rather than vodka rocks, he walks in more slowly and maybe asks to be introduced. He might find the host and ask to be introduced to others, and that goes over better in those quieter gatherings.
So important to read that. Now, even if we have a good initial connection with someone, Sue, what ultimately makes for effective networking?
This is the most interesting thing to me, that we go in thinking, oh, I just have to meet X number of people. Actually, what really counts is, do you take those relationships outside the room with you into your real life? The point of networking is to get help with things, to be able to help others, to get information, and so on. And so you really need to find somebody who's mutually attracted to you, who you know you want to stay in touch with.
It sounds a little bit like dating.
It is a little like that, actually.
Sue, some people can be overwhelmed just by entering a room full of people, many of whom they might not know. Do you have tips for getting over that initial threshold?
It's fascinating to me that I talked to several people who had once been terrified of networking. And one woman said she began to go in thinking, how can I help other people here? She would go in listening very closely. Perhaps she had a bit of information from her own work experience or someone she could introduce this person to who would be helpful. And another good way to get over that is to just say, I'm going to be curious about these people, and go in and ask them questions about themselves. People immediately will warm up if you show interest in their work or their lives. It's a great way to get through and really feel good about it yourself.
Such a great tip to remember to ask people to talk about themselves. Everybody loves that, right, Sue?
That's right.
Thank you so much for that.